Have you ever noticed something unsettling? Two people can say almost the same thing in the same room, and one is respected instantly, while the other is ignored, interrupted, or quietly dismissed. Same language. Same topic. Same air in the room. But somehow, one person carries weight, and the other doesn't. And if you've lived long enough, you know this truth cuts deeper than communication. It reaches into work, relationships, family, status, leadership, even love. Because in the real world, people do not only respond to what you say. They respond to what your words reveal about your self-worth. That's the part nobody tells you. Society likes to pretend respect is about kindness, credentials, talent, or being good with people. But beneath all the polished language and fake civility, there is a harsher truth: people are constantly scanning for weakness. Not always consciously. Not always maliciously. But they do it. They watch your tone. Your timing. Your hesitation. Your need to be liked. Your fear of tension. Your impulse to explain yourself too much. And from those tiny signals, they decide how far they can lean on you, interrupt you, overlook you, or use you. That sounds dark. But it's also freeing. Because if respect can be lost through speech, it can also be rebuilt through speech. In this video, I want to walk with you through 6 shifts that change the way people hear you, feel you, and respond to you. Not cheap tricks. Not dominance theater. Not fake alpha performance. I'm talking about something quieter than that. Stronger than that. The kind of presence that doesn't need to announce itself. We're going to talk about why over-apologizing shrinks your presence, why weak boundaries invite disrespect, why silence is more powerful than speed, why humor can either sharpen your image or sabotage it, why gossip exposes your character, and why the people with the most verbal power usually know exactly when to stop talking. And stay with me, because the last point may be the one that changes your life the most. Most people think respect comes from saying more. In reality, some of the most respected people in any room are the ones who know what not to say. So if you've ever felt talked over, underestimated, too available, too nice, too easy to push past, this is for you. Let's get into it. 1. Stop apologizing for existing. Let's begin with one of the most socially accepted ways people erase themselves. I'm sorry. Now let me be clear. Real apologies matter. If you hurt someone, own it. If you made a mistake, acknowledge it. If you were careless, say so plainly. That's integrity. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the reflex apology. The apology that slips out before you've even decided whether you did anything wrong. The apology people use when they enter a room 2 minutes late. When they ask a question. When they need clarification. When they express a preference. When they take up space. When they exist with any inconvenience at all. Sorry I'm late. Sorry to bother you. Sorry, can I say something? Sorry, I just think. Sorry. Listen carefully. Unnecessary apologies do not make you look kind. They make you look pre-defeated. And people feel that. When you apologize without cause, you are sending a message before your real message even begins. You are saying, I assume I'm the disruption. I assume I'm in the way. I assume my presence needs to be softened before it can be tolerated. That signal is small. But it accumulates. And over time, people begin to relate to you through that signal. They start to expect hesitation from you. They expect accommodation. They expect retreat. They expect you to bend first. I learned this in a way that embarrassed me. There was a season in my life when I apologized constantly, and I didn't even realize how deep it had gotten. I apologized walking into meetings. I apologized when other people cut me off. I apologized when I needed more time. I apologized before disagreeing. I apologized before asking for basic clarity. I thought I was being polite. mature, easy to work with. But what I was really doing was training people to experience me as someone already half withdrawn. One moment still stays with me. I was in a meeting, halfway through making a point. Someone cut directly across me and kept talking. And my response, almost automatically, was, "Oh, sorry, go ahead." The second it left my mouth, something in me went quiet. Sorry, for what? For being interrupted? For speaking when it was my turn to speak? For not disappearing fast enough? That moment was small on the outside. But inside, it felt like a mirror being held up. I saw how often I had been shrinking myself to keep everything smooth, pleasant, frictionless. And in doing that, I had been cooperating with my own erasure. This is where Stoic clarity matters. A Stoic mind doesn't dramatize every small social discomfort. It doesn't collapse into guilt just because tension exists. And from a colder, more Machiavellian reading of social life, here's the uncomfortable truth: many people benefit from you speaking as though you're already at fault. It makes you easier to manage, easier to overrule, easier to guilt, easier to keep in a lower position without ever saying so directly. That is why this habit matters more than it seems. Because, "I'm sorry," is not always about manners. Sometimes it's a ritual of self-minimization. So what do you do instead? You replace apology with ownership. Instead of, "Sorry I'm late," say, "Thank you for waiting." Instead of, "Sorry to bother you," say, "Do you have a moment?" Instead of, "Sorry, can I add something?" say, "I'd like to add something." Instead of, "Sorry, I'm confused," say, "I want to make sure I understand this correctly." Feel the difference. One version enters the room kneeling. The other enters standing up. This doesn't make you rude. It makes you clean. And that matters, because people often respect emotional cleanliness more than emotional niceness. Clean speech tells people, "I know the difference between guilt and responsibility. I know when I owe an apology and when I don't. I do not perform self-erasure to make everyone else comfortable." And if that sounds harsh, good. Harsh truths often heal faster than soft lies. So here's a question worth carrying with you. The next time "I'm sorry" rises to your lips, pause and ask yourself, am I taking responsibility, or am I making myself smaller? That one question alone will start changing how people hear you. Because respect does not begin when others finally decide to give it to you. It begins the moment your speech stops asking permission to exist. 2. Set boundaries, and stop negotiating them away. Now let's go one layer deeper. Because a person who apologizes too much usually has another problem too: weak boundaries. And weak boundaries are expensive. They cost you energy. They cost you peace. They cost you time. And eventually, they cost you identity. The world has a strange way of praising people while draining them. You'll be called helpful, dependable, generous, easygoing, loyal. And sometimes that praise is real. But sometimes it's just the language people use when they benefit from your lack of limits. That is one of the oldest social disguises in the book. A lot of people are not drawn to your kindness. They are drawn to your accessibility. They like that you answer late. They like that you say yes fast. They like that you don't push back. They like that you explain yourself too much. They like that guilt works on you. And again, this doesn't mean everyone around you is evil. It means many people naturally move toward the path of least resistance. If you never define where the line is, they will keep stepping forward until your exhaustion becomes the boundary for them. That's how most resentment is born. Not from one dramatic betrayal, but from 1,000 moments where you felt that no inside you, and said yes anyway. Maybe you know what that feels like. The coworker who always brings you last-minute chaos because they know you'll absorb it. The friend who only calls when they need labor, comfort, or rescue. The family member who expects instant access to your time because they're used to emotional veto power. The partner who keeps crossing the same line because every consequence eventually dissolves. And the cruel part is this: when you finally speak up, people act surprised. Not because your boundary is unreasonable, but because your previous silence trained them to expect compliance. I remember a period when I kept saying yes to things that quietly damaged me. Not because I wanted to. Because I didn't want to seem difficult. I wanted to be mature, flexible, understanding. I told myself it was strength. It wasn't. It was fear disguised as virtue. I remember one specific moment with painful clarity. A colleague had a habit of dropping unfinished work on me late in the day. Always with the same tone. Casual. Assumptive. As if my time belonged to the emergency of their poor planning. And I kept saying yes. Not because I respected the request. Because I feared the friction of refusing it. One evening, I was sitting under that dead office light, staring at work that wasn't mine, feeling that familiar bitterness rise in my chest. And I had this thought that cut right through me. Why am I protecting their comfort at the expense of my own life? That question changed something. The next time it happened, I didn't explain for 5 minutes. I didn't soften it with nervous laughter. I didn't offer 3 alternate ways to help. I just said, calmly, I can't take that on. That was it. And yes, they looked irritated. Yes, there was tension. Yes, for a few seconds I could feel the old urge to walk it back. But I didn't. And something important happened after that. They adjusted. That's the part people rarely believe until they live it. Most people will test your boundary. Some will resent it. A few will punish it. But many will simply recalculate. They will learn that your time is not open territory. Your energy is not communal property. Your peace is not available on demand. This is where Stoicism and social realism meet. The Stoic teaches, govern yourself. The Machiavellian warns, if you do not define your limits, others will define them for you. And the world, polished as it may look, still runs on that principle every day. Boundaries are not cruelty. They are structure. They teach people how to engage with you. They show what earns access, what loses access, what gets your energy, and what doesn't. Without boundaries, you are not loving people well. You are offering them a version of you with no walls, no gates, and no terms. That does not create closeness. It creates erosion. And let me say something else, because this matters. You do not need a courtroom defense every time you say no. One of the clearest signs that someone is still learning self-respect is this: they give a boundary, then immediately over-explain it. I can't make it, because. I'm not available, because. I need to leave early, because. I can't help this weekend, because. And suddenly the boundary becomes a plea for permission. No. A boundary spoken with too much explanation stops sounding like a boundary. It starts sounding like an appeal. Sometimes, no, is enough. Sometimes, I'm not available for that, is enough. Sometimes, that doesn't work for me, is enough. Simple language. Steady tone. No apology. That kind of speech changes your life. Not all at once. But in ways that matter. You sleep better. You resent less. You stop dreading people. You stop feeling secretly used while smiling on the surface. You stop living in reaction mode. And perhaps most importantly, you begin to like yourself more. Because every time you honor a boundary, you send yourself a message: my peace matters too. If people punish you for that, notice what they're revealing. Not about you. About themselves. The people most upset by your boundaries are often the ones who are feeding on your lack of them. So start small if you need to. Decline one invitation you don't actually want. Delay one response that doesn't require instant access. Refuse one responsibility that was never yours. Leave one conversation when your body is already telling you it's enough. Train the muscle. Because people do not deeply respect what is endlessly available. And neither should you. 3. Master the art of the pause. Now let's talk about something more subtle. Silence. Or more specifically, the pause. Because one of the fastest ways to sound unsure is not actually silence. It's the frantic fear of silence. Most people speak the way anxious hands move. Fast. Constant. Filling every gap. Explaining every edge. Rushing to make sure they are understood before anyone has even had time to misunderstand them. And again, this is rarely about communication alone. It's about fear. Fear of being judged. Fear of being misread. Fear of not sounding intelligent enough. Fear of losing the room. Fear of not being enough unless the words keep coming. So people speed up. They stack point on point. They repeat themselves. They flood the air with language. And in doing so, they unintentionally strip their own words of gravity. Because words without space have nowhere to land. This is one of the great ironies of communication. The more urgently you try to prove yourself through speech, the less weight your speech often carries. I know this because I used to do it all the time. There was a version of me that believed silence was dangerous. In meetings, conversations, even personal relationships, I felt an almost physical need to fill the air. If I made a point, I rushed to add another sentence, then another, then one more clarification just in case the first 3 weren't enough. If someone didn't respond immediately, I'd jump in again. If there was a pause, I assumed I had lost them. But what I had really lost was rhythm. I remember giving a presentation once and thinking I was doing well because I had prepared so much. I knew the material. I had examples. I had structure. I had answers before questions were even asked. And that was exactly the problem. I never gave the room a second to breathe. I spoke as though silence would expose me, when in reality silence would have strengthened me. Afterward, someone I respected told me something simple, but I never forgot it. They said, "Your ideas are strong. But you don't let people feel them. You rush past your own impact." That hit harder than criticism usually does, because it was true. I wasn't letting my words stand. I was crowding them. And that's when I started practicing something that felt deeply unnatural at first, saying the sentence, then stopping. Not because I was done thinking. Because I wanted the words to live in the room for a second. And what I noticed was immediate. People leaned in more. Interruptions dropped. Questions improved. Faces changed. My speech started sounding less like performance and more like conviction. That is the power of a pause. A pause says, "I am not afraid of space." A pause says, "I trust what I just said." A pause says, "I don't need to flood the room to keep my place in it." In a culture obsessed with speed, this is powerful. Because speed is often mistaken for confidence. But speed can also be camouflage. It can hide nervousness, insecurity, and the desperate need to stay in control of perception. A deliberate pause does the opposite. It reveals a person who is willing to let the moment stand on its own. That is rare. And rarity creates presence. From a Stoic perspective, the pause is also discipline. It is a refusal to be dragged by impulse. You are not reacting to discomfort. You are governing yourself inside it. And from a darker social perspective, the pause unsettles shallow people because it denies them easy access to your emotional rhythm. You are not scrambling to please. You are not rushing to reassure. You are not volunteering your nervous system to the room. You are composed. That composition is felt before it is understood. Think about the people you have respected most in conversation. Usually they were not the loudest. Usually they were not the quickest. Usually they were not the ones throwing constant words into the air like confetti. Usually they had this slower gravity. They spoke. They paused. They let the room come to them. That's not a trick. That's self-possession. And yes, at first, it will feel uncomfortable. Silence has a way of exposing all the parts of us that still want quick validation. The moment you stop talking, the anxious part of your mind will whisper things like, "They think you're awkward. You lost the room. Say something else. Fix it. Explain it better." Don't obey that voice too quickly. Let the silence do some work. Sometimes the most convincing part of what you say is the calm that follows it. So the next time you make a point, try this. Say it cleanly. Then stop. Let the sentence breathe. Let people meet you there. Because respect often begins in the moments where you no longer panic at the sound of your own stillness. 4. Use humor, but never use it to lower yourself. Now this one is subtle, because humor is powerful. Used well, it creates warmth. It builds connection. It lowers defensiveness. It can make you seem intelligent, quick, magnetic, human. In the right hands, humor is elegant. But used badly, humor becomes self-sabotage. And a lot of people don't realize when they've crossed that line. They think they're being likable. They think they're making the room comfortable. They think they're showing humility. But what they're actually doing is training people not to take them seriously. There's a difference between being funny and becoming the emotional furniture of the room. There's a difference between lightness and self-reduction. And many people discover that difference too late. I did. There was a time when I used humor as a social shield. If the room felt tense, I reached for a joke. If I felt exposed, I made myself the punchline before anyone else could. If feedback got uncomfortable, I softened it with wit. If the conversation started moving towards something serious, I cut across it with something clever. I told myself I was good with people. Maybe sometimes I was. But I was also hiding. Humor was not always an expression of confidence. Sometimes it was my escape hatch from vulnerability, authority, and depth. It let me be liked without being fully seen. It let me stay present without having to stand still. That works for a while. Until one day you realize people enjoy you, but they don't really feel your weight. I remember making a joke in a professional setting about my own workload, something self-deprecating, easy laugh, harmless on the surface. People laughed. The room moved on. But later someone said to me, quietly, "You're stronger than the way you present yourself." That line stayed with me. Because it exposed something deeper. I had been using humor not just to connect, but to lower the stakes of my own presence. I was signaling, "Don't worry, I won't make you take me too seriously. I'll do the shrinking for you." Again, that seems harmless. But society reads patterns. And when your humor repeatedly positions you beneath your own value, people start believing the image you keep performing for them. That doesn't mean you should become cold, humorless, rigid. Not at all. Some of the strongest people in any room have excellent humor. But their humor has spine. It doesn't beg for approval. It doesn't constantly turn inward like a knife. It doesn't make them smaller so others can relax. It adds to their presence. It doesn't dissolve it. This is the test. Are you using humor to connect? Or are you using humor to avoid discomfort? To deflect seriousness? To soften your own authority? To make sure nobody feels challenged by your presence? That question matters more than people think. Because humor reveals motive. Sharp, grounded humor can show intelligence and ease. But compulsive humor often reveals insecurity. Especially when it arrives at the wrong moment, too often, or always at your own expense. Over time, people start feeling that difference even if they can't articulate it. And yes, the room matters. Timing matters. Audience matters. Sarcasm can make you look perceptive, or bitter. Dark humor can make you look fearless, or emotionally tone-deaf. Self-deprecating humor can make you look relatable, or weak. It all depends on whether your humor is coming from centeredness or self-protection. A person with silent authority can laugh. Absolutely. But they don't use laughter as camouflage. They don't weaponize it to dodge truth. They don't bury every serious moment under charm. They know how to let a serious thought remain serious. That restraint matters. Because if every difficult moment becomes a joke, people stop trusting your depth. If every correction becomes banter, people stop trusting your standards. If every compliment toward you gets laughed away, people stop trusting your self-belief. And trust is the foundation of respect. So use humor. But use it with intention. Let it warm the room, not cheapen your presence. Let it reveal ease, not self-erasure. Let it sharpen your humanity, not blur your value. A well-placed joke can make people like you. But disciplined humor makes people remember you. 5. Stop gossiping, because gossip always exposes the speaker. Now let's step into a harder truth. Gossip feels small when we're doing it. That's why it spreads so easily. It rarely arrives wearing the label, moral failure. It arrives disguised as concern, analysis, bonding, venting, harmless tea, office culture, family talk, just keeping you updated, just being honest. That's how it gets in. But under all those disguises, gossip usually reveals one thing: a person who feels more alive discussing someone else's flaws than confronting their own emptiness. I know that sounds severe. But look at it honestly. Why does gossip feel pleasurable in the moment? Because it creates temporary intimacy without requiring real vulnerability. It gives people the thrill of connection, superiority, and stimulation all at once. For a brief moment, everyone in the circle feels sharper, closer, more important. That's why so many social groups run on it. But that bond is rotten at the core. Because if people connect by lowering someone absent, then everyone in the room quietly learns the same lesson: when I'm absent, I may become the material too. That is why gossip does not build trust. It corrodes it. And once trust erodes, respect goes with it. There was a moment in my own life that made this painfully real. I made an offhand comment once about someone who had been showing up late repeatedly. It was casual. Slightly funny. Not even particularly cruel by normal standards. I thought nothing of it. But as these things always do, the comment moved. It picked up tone. It gathered assumptions. It reached the wrong ears. And by the time the dust settled, the story had become uglier than what I had said, and far uglier than what was true. What I later found out was that this person was carrying something heavy in private, something no one in the room knew. A real burden. A human burden. And in that instant, my comment stopped feeling witty and started feeling cheap. That was the moment I understood something deeper about gossip. It is almost never about the target. It is about the speaker's appetite. The appetite to feel included. The appetite to feel superior. The appetite to make the room lean in. The appetite to escape boredom through someone else's humanity. That appetite may be common. But it is not clean. And people notice more than you think. Even when they laugh with you, something in them is taking note. A silent calculation. If you speak this way about others, what will you do with what you learn about me? If I trust you, will my private life become your public material the moment it becomes socially useful? This is why people may enjoy a gossip for a while, but they rarely respect one deeply. Entertainment is not respect. Access is not respect. Being in the loop is not respect. Respect grows around people who can hold information without exploiting it. That kind of person feels rare today because outrage, exposure, and performative commentary have become social currency. Everyone wants to react first. Everyone wants to interpret everyone else. Everyone wants to be morally above, socially informed, emotionally involved. Social media has trained entire generations to confuse commentary with character. But a mature person understands something simpler. Not everything you know needs to be said. Not everything true is yours to tell. Not every weakness you witness is an invitation to speak on it. That discipline changes your presence. When you stop participating in gossip, people begin to sense a different quality in you. They feel safer. They bring you more honest conversations. They test you less. They trust you more. Not because you perform wisdom, but because you stop feeding on what is easy. And yes, at first, it can feel socially awkward. You'll be in conversations where people bait you into joining the pile-on. You'll feel the pressure to contribute. To nod. To add your version. To prove you're aligned with the group. That is exactly where character shows itself. Sometimes the strongest sentence in the room is something simple like, "I don't know the full story." Or, "I hope they're okay." Or, "I'd rather not talk about them like that." Not dramatic. Not self-righteous. Just clean. That kind of restraint has force. It tells the room that your mouth is not for hire. That your presence cannot be bought with cheap belonging. That your standards do not disappear just because other people are entertained. And from a Machiavellian angle, here is the hidden danger of gossip: it makes you predictable. It shows people how easily your integrity can be traded for social warmth. Once that is visible, you become easier to manipulate. A person who needs the pleasure of shared negativity is easy to lead. A person who can remain composed in the face of drama is much harder to move. So the next time gossip opens in front of you, don't just ask whether the information is true. Ask a harder question. What kind of person does repeating this make me? Because every time you refuse to use another person's vulnerability as social material, you gain something far more valuable than momentary inclusion. You gain weight. And weight is remembered. 6. Know when to stop talking. Now we arrive at the final lesson. And in many ways, this is the one that ties everything together. Because if you listen closely, most people lose respect not only through what they say, but through what they keep saying after the point is already made. They over-explain. They over-defend. They over-clarify. They over-justify. They keep speaking long after their authority has already begun leaking out of the sentence. Why? Because silence after a statement can feel terrifying. When you stop talking, you lose the illusion of control. Now the other person can react however they want. They can disagree. Misread you. Stay silent. Judge you. Reject you. And that uncertainty is difficult for most people to tolerate. So instead of tolerating it, they keep talking. They add more detail. Then another example. Then a softer version. Then a disclaimer. Then a nervous joke. Then an apology. Then one more sentence, just to be clear. And suddenly, a strong point collapses under the weight of its own explanation. I've done this more times than I want to admit. I've left conversations knowing my first sentence was enough, and then replayed the rest in my head like a slow self-betrayal. Not because I lacked intelligence. Because I lacked trust. I didn't trust that the clean version was enough. I didn't trust that my point could stand without me standing there beside it, begging it to survive. That's what over-talking often is. Not communication. Not clarity. Fear. Fear that what you said won't hold. Fear that your boundary will sound too sharp. Fear that your opinion will be misunderstood. Fear that silence will expose how vulnerable you feel inside. So you keep pouring words into the room. But here's the problem: once people sense that you are trying too hard to secure agreement, your position starts losing force. Not always because they disagree with you. Because desperation has a sound. And seasoned people hear it immediately. I remember once pitching an idea and feeling, for the first half-minute, that the room was with me. I had them. The point was clear. The energy was right. I could have stopped there. But I didn't. I kept talking because I wanted certainty. I wanted to remove all risk. I wanted no room for confusion, no room for questions, no room for doubt. So I kept layering the point, polishing it, defending it, stretching it. And I watched, in real time, as the room drifted away. You could feel it. The first version had conviction. The extended version had anxiety. That difference changed the way I think about speech. Now I see it this way: when you keep talking past the point of necessity, you often reveal that you are no longer speaking to communicate. You are speaking to regulate your own discomfort. That is a completely different energy. And people respond to that energy, often more than the content itself. This is why knowing when to stop talking is one of the clearest signs of self-command. It says, I said what I meant. It says, I can tolerate your reaction. It says, I do not need to overfeed the room to keep my value intact. It says, my words do not need to be rescued by panic. That's powerful. It is also rare. And that rarity is part of why it commands respect. Stoicism has always understood this. Discipline in speech is discipline of mind. If every silence drags extra words out of you, then other people are not the only ones controlling the conversation. Your own anxiety is. But if you can say the truth, hold your ground, and let the room do what it will, then you have become much harder to shake. That is freedom. There is also a deeper social lesson here. People often remember the drop, not the flood. They remember the line that landed. The answer that was brief. The boundary that was clear. The statement that ended without apology. They rarely remember the 5 extra minutes of verbal cushioning you added because you were afraid to let the point stand alone. So the next time you speak, in a meeting, in an argument, in a negotiation, in a family conversation, in a difficult text, in a moment where your heart is beating faster than your face is showing, try this. Say the necessary thing. Then stop. Don't decorate it. Don't dilute it. Don't chase after it with more language because silence suddenly feels dangerous. Let the truth stand with your name on it. Because sometimes the most respected person in the room is not the one with the best vocabulary. It's the one who knows when the sentence is complete. If you've made it this far, I want to leave you with something simple. Respect is not built in one dramatic conversation. It is built in patterns. In the pattern of whether you apologize for things that need no apology. In the pattern of whether your boundaries hold under pressure. In the pattern of whether you can let silence breathe. In the pattern of whether your humor strengthens you or reduces you. In the pattern of whether your mouth feeds on gossip. In the pattern of whether you can stop talking before your message starts begging to be believed. That is how people learn you. Not by your self-description. By your repeated signals. And maybe that's the hardest truth of all, people don't only hear your words. They hear your relationship with yourself inside your words. They hear whether you trust yourself. They hear whether you need approval. They hear whether you fear tension. They hear whether you abandon yourself to keep the peace. And the world, however polite it may pretend to be, responds accordingly. But here's the good news. Speech can be retrained. Presence can be rebuilt. Authority can be recovered. Not through performance. Through alignment. Through becoming the kind of person whose words no longer contradict their worth. That takes practice. It takes self-observation. It takes a willingness to endure a little more silence, a little more tension, a little less instant approval. But the reward is real. You stop feeling invisible. You stop feeling overused. You stop replaying conversations and wondering why you disappeared inside them. You start sounding like someone whose inner life has structure. And people feel that. So if you want one thing to carry with you after this video, let it be this. Speak in a way that does not ask others to forget your value. Not loudly. Not aggressively. Not theatrically. Just clearly. Calmly. Without apology where none is owed. Without excess where none is needed. Without betrayal of yourself for the comfort of the room. That is silent authority. And in a world full of noise, that kind of authority is impossible to fake for long, and impossible to ignore once it's real. If this spoke to something you've been living through, let me know in the comments, which of these 6 habits do you think changes respect the fastest? And if you've ever had a moment where you realized your way of speaking was making you smaller than you really are, I'd be interested to hear that too. If this video gave you something useful, leave a like and subscribe. There's a lot more to say about self-command, emotional discipline, and how to move through a manipulative world without losing your center. Until next time, protect your peace, trust your words, and don't rush to fill every silence. Sometimes the quietest voice in the room is the one everyone remembers.